Hello and welcome back to another on Respect and another edition of NXT Out of 10. There's all the fallout from Standanddeliver on this show, so a lot to address. Not only did Hank and Tank become the new tag team champions, Soul Rooker became Women's North American champion, so yeah, there was a lot going on. And we started things off with a recap of Standanddeliver, as you might expect, before main roster stars Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez made their way to the ring to fight for the women's tag titles a third time in as many days. They lost the titles on Saturday, regained them on Monday, and had to defend them again against Dolan and Paxley, who won a fatal four-way to earn its opportunity. Morgan and Paxley began the match with an exchange that saw the former women's champion stomp her opponent into the mat. Paxley tried to get in their face, so Morgan tagged out of the powerhouse of their team. The champions had the upper hand for most of this match, while the challengers made brief comebacks every few minutes. Rodriguez was positioned as a monster powerhouse that the babyfaces had trouble overcoming. The champions were able to retain the titles in a match that had its fair share of messy moments, but still had enough fun to keep fans entertained. And yeah, on the whole, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I thought, it was okay, but, probably the weakest match of the three they had, unsurprisingly. But I just feel like maybe crammed too much into the women's tag team titles in such a short period of time. Could have been extended a bit longer. Ricky Saints then came and gave a promo about retaining his North American Championship at the weekend before being interrupted by Lexis King. They agreed to the title v cup match and placed it on another day as long as King retains against his mystery opponent, who was Noam Dar, making his return after being out of action since May last year. They immediately locked up and began having a nice technical exchange. They kept a quick pace, but the time to sell a few of the bigger spots. Dar looked good and didn't seem to have much time shaking off the ring rust. In somewhat surprising outcome, he won back his Heritage Cup with a back elbow, and it seemed weird just to set up a match as Saints if King was going to lose anyway, but we'll have to see if WWE has something planned. But I think really pleased to see Dar back as well, and that could be a great match with Saints. So, I'm not disappointed, to be honest. 6 out of 10. Before moving on into Thea Hale, who took on Fallon Henry in a match that was booked backstage. The latter is fresh off a return and was looking to build momentum. After Henley had control at first, the former Chase U standout began to build ahead of steam. She ended up winning in a few minutes. JC Jane and Jasmine Nix made no effort to help their partner. This was short and had little to it, but the handful of things they did look good. Henley's an underrated performer who should be getting bigger opportunities than this, in all fairness. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. I thought it was alright, but like I said, they probably deserved more time to really show what they could do. The next match was Javon Evans and Mars Bourne taking on Oasis Griffin and Dion Lennox, and Femi and Trick Williams were having an argument in the ring when Joe Hendry arrived before that. The TNA champ said Trick had been complaining too much and called him entitled. The segment ended with Hendry and Femi sending Williams out of the ring, but it also planted the seed for a potential TNA v NXT match. Really pleased to see Joe Hendry, hopefully a consistent figure on WWE TV going forward. So yeah, that'd be good stuff. Before Mars Bourne of No Quarter Catch Crew and Javon Evans then took on Dark State, who were fresh off the win over the D'Angelo family. Griffin and Lennox had a significant size advantage over both men, so this match was a series of sequences that Dark State controlled the pace while Evans and Bourne tried to find ways to counter their power. The other members of Dark State taunted Evans and Bourne from ringside as their teammates dominating the ring. Bourne had a nice showing after a hot take, but one big spine buster put him down. Lennox and Griffin finished him off with a double powerbomb. The crowd went almost silent for a match like this, so the interest went way down. It was a little weird because it was a solid contest, so yeah, I'll give it a 6 out of 10. The NXT Women's title then headlined the show when Stephanie Vaquer defended the belt against Roxanne Perez in the main event. Vaquer had a slight size and power advantage, but the Prodigy didn't seem intimidated. She backed the champion to the corner right away. Both were versatile performers, so we saw a bit of everything in this bout. They had some technical exchanges, used some strikes, and even to the sky once or twice. After countering Perez's finishes, Vaquer took her down to pin and retain the title. Julia came out after the match and had a staring contest with the champ, but Jordan Grace was also shown watching the crowd, so maybe that feud will continue. I feel like it's probably about time now Roxanne Perez goes to the main roster. So yeah, maybe it could be the last we see of her in NXT with Vaquer going over. But yeah, I think still an intriguing story, especially with Grace and possibly Julia as well. So yeah, I'm still intrigued after what we saw last week on Raw, last night on Raw as well, where it all goes. So 7 out of 10. And overall, the post-Standanddeliver episode of NXT addressed a lot of what happened, but it didn't feel a show had much of an important feel. I feel like the crowd was kind of a bit quiet for this one as well, maybe tired after such a crazy weekend of wrestling. So yeah, on the whole, I thought it was okay, but maybe could have been a bit better as well. So on the whole, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Guys, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.